today we are going to take something which is very important, the process of cognition or dependent origination. So in your this thing booklets, you will find that there is a dependent origination which has been given. Okay. Now we will be going through the steps and what does each step mean. So we will give you more information on each of these steps. So you will get more information of how this is working. But there are three ways of looking at dependent origination. One, looking at dependent origination from the lifetime perspective. That there are certain life which was there, then this is the current life, then the future life. And then there is a middle way of looking at the dependent origination. That is what is happening and passing away in the present. In this present, which you can see the thoughts arising, then passing away, and emotions arising, passing away. That is the other way of looking at dependent origination. Now the third way of looking dependent origination I hinted at. Say if you see this sound, there is 100,000 arising and passing away of the sound consciousness. So the sound consciousness arose and passed away 100,000 times. Now for that to see that, you have to have a lot of meditation practice. So there is a teacher, my teacher Bandev University used to say that there is a teacher in Burma who teaches this, to see this arising and passing away. But it takes about 10 to 12 years of practice to reach that stage, to be able to see. So it is a very difficult thing to do. And 3 lifetimes you cannot see. Okay? You cannot see. Do you know, anybody knows what was there in your last life? Nobody. So can you predict what is going to happen in the future? You cannot. So then what remains is that in the present. So that is whatever Bhante Kalamsi teaches, he teaches from the perspective of what is there in the present. So there are certain terms which are there, which he translates a little different than other teachers. Like there is what we call habitual tendencies. Pali term is bhava. Bhava means becoming. That is one translation which is there. And in India, people will understand the word bhava as a synonym for samsara. Prapancha is also we say. So we also use samsara as a kind of, prapancha is also a kind of a synonym for samsara. So that is what it is. But what we use is as a practical. Practical application is the habitual tendencies, what habits we have. So we will go through this analysis of dependent origination. It is from Samyutta Nikaya. This is book of I think 12, and the sutta is 2. So that will be something SN 12.2. So this is what is analysis of dependent origination. So at Savatthi, students, I will teach you dependent origination and I will analyze it for you. Listen to that and attend closely. I will speak. Yes, Venerable Sir. Those students replied. The Blessed One said this. And what student is dependent origination? With ignorance as condition, volitional formations come to be. Ignorance is not knowing. Okay? So we will explain each of the things also. And with volitions as conditions, consciousness. With consciousness as conditions, that is name and form. With name and form as conditions, 6 sense bases. With 6 sense bases as condition, contact. With contact as conditions, feeling. With feeling as conditions, craving. With craving as conditions, clinging. With clinging as condition, habitual tendencies. Which habitual tendencies as condition, birth of action. With birth of action as condition, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair. So whenever something is finished or kind of is completed or the cycle ends, then there is certain amount of sorrow which is there. So one example I give many times is when you are eating ice cream. So when you are eating ice cream, you are enjoying it. But when it is finished, what is happening? You are scraping the ice cream for the last drop, So that is the kind of the grief and which is there. Or what you do, you want another ice cream. You order for one more ice cream. So that is what is the death of. So anything which starts will eventually end. So then the Buddha is talking about such is the origin of this whole mass of suffering. And what students is aging and death. Aging of various beings in various orders of beings. So various beings is different kind of states. So we are in a sense sphere. So there are other beings in other states also. Like you know that there are bacteria are there. Then you know that there are animals are there. Then you know that there are viruses are there. So viruses has a different way of living than bacteria, then animals, then us. So there is a different. So there are various beings are there, and then there are beings which we are not aware of. So there are fine material beings and mind-based beings. So the aging and death, the aging of the various beings in the various orders of being, their growing old, brokenness of teeth, greyness of hair, wrinkling of skin, decline of vitality, degradation of the faculties. Faculties is all the eye, ear, nose, tongue, sense, and the thinking. So you see that when the person is getting old, what happens is his eye becomes weaker, his hearing becomes weaker, his smell is inferior, his taste is inferior, and all of those faculties which are there is becoming weaker. It is degrading. That this is called aging, the passing away of various beings from the various orders of beings, their perishing, breakup, disappearance, mortality, death, completion of time, the breakup of the aggregates, the laying down of the carcass. This is called death. So there are many ways of death also. So some of the ways of death is breakup, which is there, disappearance. So now when a being is there in the heavenly realms, okay, there is no death because there is no body as such. There is a fine material body. So the being disappears, and wherever in the sutta it is mentioned, this person disappeared from here and then reappeared over here. So when the heavenly beings is kind of going from one heavenly realm to another, they disappear from one place and then reappear some other. So that is the reason disappearance is also mentioned. Then there is also perishing and breakup. So certain beings like viruses, they cannot be considered alive or dead, but it can be broken up. So when they break up, only then they are non-functional. So some of those things which are there, so there are different beings are there, and different way they have their end which comes. Thus this aging and this death are together called aging and death. And what students is birth? The birth of various beings into various orders of being. Their being born, descent, that is into the womb, production, the manifestation of aggregates, the obtaining of the sense basis. This is called birth. So various ways there are births also. So if there is a sense-based being, then that like an human is there, animals are there. They are born through a mother's womb. But then there are other ways of also they are getting born. So that is what they are talking about. This is called birth. And when we are looking over here in this, you will see that there is a birth of action. So we are primarily concerned about what is in the present what is happening. In the present how is the birth of action happening? So when you are taking an action, see if there is a thought which is there, I want to get up, and then you get up, that is the birth of action which is there. Okay, so now that is what we are kind of focusing on or studying. So that is the immediate what is happening in the present. What is the birth of action? That's the reason there is a birth of action which is mentioned. What we are studying as dependent origination is what is happening in the present, how those things are operating. And what students is existence or becoming or bhava. there are these three kinds of existence. Sense sphere existence. Sense sphere existence is all of us, all the animals which are there. They are sense sphere. So because we have senses, we have eye, ear, and all those things. That is sense sphere being. Then there is form sphere being. There is form. Form is that means there is some kind of form. This can include us, and it can include any of the heavenly realms which are there. Deva realms which are there, heavenly realms which are there. Those beings have form. They have fine material form. Yes.
What is fear in the sense sphere?
Not fear. Sense sphere. Sphere.
Okay, sphere.
Sense sphere existence, form sphere existence, formless sphere existence. Now, what is formless? Say, if somebody does not even have the body, they just have the mind. That happens when somebody is kind of doing meditation and they stay in Arupa Jhana, not the way Buddha is teaching, but there are other meditation techniques also. If they are doing that meditation techniques and they are in the Arupa Jhanas, and when they pass away, they go to Arupa Loka, where they are without form. They just have the mind, and that can be a very long amount of time. So for us, we know this universe. The kind of scientists say that there is a big bang which happened. Okay, now it is 13.5 billion years. It is expanding. It may expand for say 150 billion years. Then it will stay like this for another 150 billion years. Then it will all come. It is called a big crunch. So it will all come together. It may take 150 years. Then it will stay there for 150 billion years. And then again it starts. That is one Mahakapa. So that is one cycle of Big Bang. So you can, if you are not going higher than say Arupa Jhana of infinite space, there I am not so nice with numbers, but it is about 12,000 Mahakapas. That is, I think 12 or 16,000 Mahakapas, you will stay there in that Arupa Loka. So that's a long amount of time, yes?
According to Buddha, what happens to those minds without body
After that, they will come as per their whatever balance, karmic balance is there, they may come to hell also. So they may go to heaven for say 60,000 Mahakapa, but their next birth can be in hell. It is like saying that I won a lottery, okay? And I said I will go to a 5-star hotel and live my life. I live my life, and one day they come and say your money is over, now you are thrown into the street. And you are penniless because you have used up all your money. So that is what happens. But not if you are doing it as per the Buddha. Buddha says that if you do as meditation as I am telling you, then you will, even after passing away, you will continue your practice and reach the logical end. So that is something which the Buddha has mentioned in many of the suttas which are there. So that is the formless sphere. And what student is clinging? There are these 4 kinds of clinging. Clinging to sensual pleasures. So that I want to see something nice, I want to hear something nice, I want to smell something, I want to taste something. You will see that there are many people who are just attracted to one of their senses. There are people who want to look at art and paintings, and they are always attracted to the sensual of the vision. Some people are audiophiles. They want to have the best audio. One of my friends, kind of clients, wanted a best audio system. So what he did was, he went and bought a very expensive audio set. Then he found out the electrical system in his house was interfering with the audio system. So he changed his electrical wires, very expensive wires he put. Then he found out that because of the transformer, still he was getting interference. So he went to the MSCB, whatever Mumbai has electricity board, that MSCB went and changed the transformer. He had to pay 10 lakh rupees there is a process also. I did not even know that we can do that, but he figured it out. He changed the transformer, and then he removed that interference. Then he started listening to music. Then what he found out was that his favorite music had some recording errors at the time of recording. He could figure that out, and all his joy of listening to music had gone. So now he said, I want to sell this music system. So that is what. So they can go so much into listening. Or perfumes, people are in perfumes, people are in tastes. So you go to a mall, there are so many now, Korean, Japanese, this food and that food. There are 100 types of different foods are there in the malls now. No? So then everything can be, so there can be a kind of an attachment. That is a clinging which is there. So there is a clinging for sensual pleasure, clinging for views. So there are certain views which are there. There are certain philosophies which are there. People are kind of holding on to the philosophies. So one of the best things the Buddha says is, say if you have some thought or philosophy, you should not hold it like this. You should hold it like this in the palm of hand. Because if it has to change, then it can be changed. If this is not working, then you put it aside and use something else. But don't hold on to the things. If you hold on to things, then what happens is there is no development. There is no kind of growth which is possible. So you should keep on everything which is, whatever you are learning also, you should keep on the palm of your hand. You should not hold on to it. If you hold on to it, then you can become the slaves to that views. So then that is also something which is saying that people cling to views. Clinging to rules and vows. Now rules and vows, clinging to rules and vows is like they are into rituals. People are into rituals. They do some karma kand and they say, okay, this will only bring me some kind of escape. So they do different kind of things. Some people kind of bow down, and some people do this and some people do that. But then they think that this will actually take them to the awakening or end of samsara. So that is the clinging which they have. Clinging to doctrine of self. So when you kind of cling to this very strong view of a self, then also what happens is there is no growth possible. If you are taking it, everything is you are taking it personally, then that things which are there, which is very much you are clinging to it. Now clinging is also a part where every justification comes. So whenever you like something or dislike something, you have a reason for liking or disliking it. I like the cricket team. This cricket team I like because. Now that because is made up. I don't like that cricket because. So now that because is made up. So but there is always a reason you have that. I like spicy food because, or I like sweet food because. So that all things which are there is coming into the clinging factor, because then you make up something and justify whatever is your position. So you don't have to change your position or change your mind. So that is what the clinging is there. You hold on to ideas, you hold on to kind of the rituals which are there, and all those things you hold on to, so not to change. And that is what clinging is there. And what students is craving. There are these 6 classes of craving. Craving for forms, craving for sounds, craving for odors, craving for tastes, craving for tactile objects, craving for mental phenomena. This is called craving. But Bhante Vimala gives a very simple definition of craving. It is I like it or I don't like it. That is the mind which says I like it this or I don't like it. That is the mind of a craving which is there. So that is what craving is there. You take it personally and then you want that or you reject it. So that is what happens in the craving stage. You see there is something which happens and then you say I like it, I don't like it. Then what student is feeling? There are the 6 classes of feeling. Feeling born of eye contact, feeling born of ear contact, feeling born of nose contact, feeling born of tongue contact, feeling born of body contact, feeling born of mind contact. This is called feeling. But there are the feeling also, there are 3 kinds of feeling. One feeling is pleasant feeling. Second feeling is unpleasant feeling or painful feeling. And the third is neither pleasant nor painful feeling. Okay, there are three kinds of feeling. So whenever there are in the eye also there are three kinds of feeling: ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. All of them there are three these kinds of feelings are there. So whenever there is a feeling, you can like it. It may be pleasant, it may be unpleasant, or it may be neither pleasant or unpleasant. So that is the three kinds of feeling. And what students is contact? There are the 6 classes of contact: eye contact, ear contact, nose contact, tongue contact, body contact, and mind contact. This is called contact. Now contact happens because of 3 things. Okay, there is the functioning organ. So there is an eye is there. There is eye is there, and then there is an object is there. Okay, the light is assumed that there is light also. So there is an object is there, and there is eye consciousness. Meeting of these 3 is contact. So in the same way, there is ear contact, nose contact, tongue contact, body contact, and mind contact. So whatever organ is there, then there is a thing which is there. So for sounds are there, then there is smell is there is some taste is there, then there is some form is there, and then there is thought. So that creates the contact. And what students are the 6 sense bases: eye base, ear base, nose base, tongue base, body base, and mind base. These are called the 6 sense bases. And what students is name and form: feeling, perception, volition. Volition is your ability to say yes, no, or be with it, or 6R. That is the ability. 6R or stay with the thought. That is your volition. So are you wanting to stay with the thought or 6R? That is, you are taking the decision that time, no? When there is recognition. When there is no recognition, there is no mindfulness, nothing is there. There is no volition over there. But when you recognize, you release or you stay. That is your volition. That is the time you come up, the volitions comes up. Contact, attention. So those things are which are called name. The 4 great elements and the forms derived from the 4 great elements, that is called form. Thus this is name and form. That is water, the earth, water, fire, and air. So those 4 things are the elements are there. So sometimes there is space also added. Sometimes Buddha is talking about 5 elements. Sometimes 6 elements where consciousness is also added. So Buddha is teaching in different ways. Sometimes he mentions 4, 5, or 6 in the different places. He uses different ways of teaching. And what students is consciousness. There are 6 classes of consciousness: eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, and mind consciousness. This is called consciousness. So for that, I told you that initially what the 3 things which are there are potential which are there, which is formations and consciousness. They later come into when the contact is there only. But over here, the possibility of the consciousness is there. And consciousness and name and form are also interlinked. Because to have consciousness, there should be at least the mind should be there. And for the mind to be there should be consciousness. So they are interlinked, they are interdependent. Okay? So for the one to be there, the other has to be also there. So there is consciousness. And before consciousness, what is there? And what students are the volitional formations? There are these 3 volitional formations: bodily volitional formation, verbal volitional formation, and mental volitional formation. These are called volitional formations. So whatever actions we do with our body, speech, and mind, those are volitional formation. And for any karma, there is a volition has to be there. So that is when that is called a karmic action. And there is one thing which you read in the morning, the Dhammapada, that mind is chief, mind meda there. There is a commentary on that. The commentary is that there is a monk who is walking in a night. He is born blind, and he is walking in the night, and he is kind of doing the meditation. And in the morning, some of the monks come to the Buddha and say that, see, he was walking in the night, and there are ants which have kind of died where he has walked. Then he has committed this thing, offense. The Buddha says no, there is no offense over here because he is blind from birth. So when he was walking, there was no volitional thing about killing the ant. So there is no karmic action. There is no volition of the rules. Yes.
Can you explain volition? Basically, I'm not able to.
Volition is your action which you do with your will, free will.
Intention.
Intention.
It's in dependent origination, the place is there, conscious, conscious in is it how it is different from the six senses consciousness?
They are not different. They are just a potential. So they are a potential which is there, but they cannot be there without the other three. Other two things like the I and the I object, the I consciousness cannot be there. Consciousness cannot be there in the air. It is the functionality which is there. It is functional only when there is I and there is an object, only then the I consciousness can be there. And meeting of these three is contact. Okay? So over here it is called the potentiality. The volitional formation is also potential volitional formation. Because there is no consciousness also over here. But what happens is when there is ignorance, after this there is ignorance, no? So when there is ignorance, then there is a possibility of volitional actions. When there is a possibility of volitional actions, there is possibility of consciousness. When that is there, then there is mind and body. When mind and body is there are six sense bases. When there are six sense bases, there can be contact. When there is contact, there can be feeling. Based on contact, there is feeling which is coming, and that feeling can be pleasant, it can be unpleasant, it can be neither pleasant or unpleasant.
In the six senses, there is no Vijnana.
Six senses are six senses. You close your eyes, then how is eye consciousness working? There's no, you cannot see anything. If a person is born without hearing, okay, then there is no hearing consciousness over there.
Then that sankara, that means the six senses craving and these things, the volition, where it was coming?
See, when there is feeling, there is a craving comes. So we will go through that. We will go through the reverse cycle also, and we will go through that our dependent origination form. Okay? And what students is ignorance, not knowing suffering, not knowing the origin of suffering, not knowing the cessation of suffering, not knowing the way leading to the cessation of suffering. This is called ignorance. So when you don't know, this can be translated into there is a problem. Okay, there is a reason for that problem. There is a solution for the problem, and there is a process to reach to the solution. So there is dukkha. There is a reason for the dukkha. What is the reason? There is craving is there. There is a solution for that. That is what is giving up the craving. And there is a eightfold path. There is a way to reach that giving up of craving. And that is the eightfold path. Yes?
Does Buddha say that we don't exist? What exists is the aggregates of these dependent origination. So, who chooses the volition?
See, this is a habitual tendency. It has a kind of continuous process. So, I go through this thing. Based on ignorance, there is volitional formations. Based on volitional formations, there is consciousness. Based on that, there is mind and body. Based on mind and body, there is six sense bases.
Is the
I'm coming to that. Now, based on that, there is contact. When there is contact, there is feeling. Then when there is a feeling, there is a craving. That is, I like it or I don't like it. Where is that feeling which is there can be pleasant, unpleasant, or neither pleasant or unpleasant. Now, based on that, I like it or I don't like it. And then there is clinging. Clinging is all the things which is there, which are views are there about why I like it, why I don't like it. And then what happens is there is a habitual tendency which is there. So when this happens, I do that. Then there is a birth of action. And then there is a birth of action, there is death. Again, when there is a death, again there is one other cycle which is opening. Now this cycle is going on. So there is nothing solid required for it to be there.
The additional formation happen based on the current load, that there is limited awareness or lack of awareness because of that.
Awareness comes later. Over here, what?
Ignorance.
Huh?
Before that is ignorance.
Yeah, ignorance. But what happens is habitual tendencies is your karmic habitual patterns. Okay, that is learned what you have learned. So certain times people like sweet, and certain times the people don't like sweet. Now one of those things is very interesting is you can go to YouTube and see babies having strawberries. Just search for that. Now some babies who are having it for the first time, they kind of start crying when they have strawberries. Some babies like it so much they kind of grab it and then want to eat more and more of the strawberries. Okay? So now, how is that one baby is crying and other baby is kind of wanting that strawberry? Some of them is about having lemons also. Babies tasting lemons for the first time. Some babies actually like the lemons. They kind of have this reaction, and then they again have. Then they have this reaction, then they again have that lemon. Why is that? There is some learned which is there, which is carried forward. No? Then you can see that okay, there is nothing the baby knows, but there is a specific reaction which is there for a certain amount of stimulus.
Past life.
That could be past life. No? There is no other explanation. That this is something which is happening, which is carried forward. Now, one very interesting thing I read in Reader's Digest. I should read Reader's Digest a lot. So there was a baby. Now that baby started walking at 6 months old. That baby started walking. He or she, I forget, but I think it is he. So he started walking at 6 months old. Then when he was 1 year old, he was able to walk on his hands. 1 year old baby walking on the hands. Then when the baby was 2 years old, it could walk on the hands of the stairs. Now how did the baby know? Then they took the baby to the gymnasium and then trained him, and then they became an Olympic medal gymnast. But how did the baby know? They said, oh, they have this capability. But how did he have the capability? How did he know that walking on hands is a thing? How does a 1 year baby know that walking on a hand is a thing? That is, they are kind of ignoring. But if you look at from the karmic hand point of view, okay, maybe there was something which was required for him to be a gymnast in the past life, and he remembers those things, and he became a very kind of a gold medalist, Olympic gold medalist later on. And one more thing I'll tell you. This was very interesting. There was a UK show which was there. Would I Lie to You? It's a nice show. Would I Lie to You? So now you would say something, and then the other person has to. There is 3 people over here, and somebody say that I can walk on my hands, and the other person has to kind of find out that it is true or not. And this guy is like an ordinary looking guy, in short, not athletic at all. And he says, I can walk on my hands. So they say that no, that's not possible. One guy who is a little bit athletic, he tries that also to walk on his hands. I said, if you can walk, and then I can walk on my hands. Then he tries and he was like afraid. Oh no, I cannot do it. You definitely cannot do it. And they call him to show him that can you walk on your hands. And he can easily walk on his hands. And then they say that how did you learn? I don't know. From my childhood, I know that I can walk on my hands, and I'm walking on my hands. And every 2 years, 3 years, I remember I can walk on my hands. Can I still do it? And he walks on his hands and he can do it. He's not an athletic person, but he can do that. So how is that possible? There is something which is people are carrying from their past life that is coming up in the present. That is how those things are happening. So when that feeling comes up, there is also perception is there. When the feeling comes up, there is perception. Now that perception also has history. How do you perceive something as pleasant, unpleasant, or neither pleasant or unpleasant? So the perception names things. The perception names yellow, perception names green, perception names blue. So that is what the perception is there. So naming of the things also happen over there. So this is sweet, this is sour. When you taste something, this is hard, this is soft. That naming of it is happening with perception. But if you don't have something in your experience, then you will not be able to kind of discern that. Certain times you will see in your house, you have lost your key and you are searching for your key and you are not getting the key. And somebody else comes and says it is there in the sofa. But for you, the key on the sofa is not in your perception. But for the other person who has no kind of that reference, they can see the key on the sofa. Because that person is looking from another perspective and you are looking from the other perspective. And that is what happens because we don't understand the perception. The perception is kind of giving us all the guidance. That is the lens we are wearing and we are going through life. So there is one, some ways they kind of explain this. There is one way of explaining it is, say if somebody is wearing a green glass, okay? And this green color glass and there is a white paper. Then he says this is a paper is green. Somebody is wearing a red color glass and then he sees a white paper, he says it's red. Now that is how we can see one thing but can experience it in a different manner. So what we are doing is we are trying to figure out how this process works. So when there is a contact which is there is a mind contact is there, then there is a thought is there, then I like it, I don't like it. Then there is all the thinking about why I like it, why I don't like it. Then what happens to your habitual tendencies? When there is something which is, you like it, you want to cling on to it, you want to have more. Then there is more thinking which happens. If you want to let go, then there is fighting with that thought. All those things happen when you are able to see what is happening in the chain of cognition. That how this thing is functioning. That when there is a contact, there is feeling. When there is, even if you don't want to go beyond that, these 7 steps also can be very helpful. The contact, feeling, craving, clinging, habitual tendency, birth and death. The 7 steps which are there is also very good to examine. Because if you cannot examine all the other steps, these steps which are there can be very helpful. And the Buddha is also giving the solution also in that sense. That what is the end of it? So Buddha is saying that if there is no ignorance, then there is no formations. When there is no formations, there is no consciousness. When there is no consciousness, there is no name and form. When there is no name and form, there are no 6 sense bases. There are no 6 sense bases, there is no contact. When there is no contact, there is no feeling. When there is no feeling, there is no craving. When there is no craving, there is no clinging. When there is no clinging, there is no habitual tendency. When there are no habitual tendencies, there is no birth. When there is no birth, there is no death. So over here in our
in this case, what is the ignorance of this idea?
not knowing the reality. So there are 3 things what Bhante says. Over here also it is written. It is of the 4 noble truths, not knowing the 4 noble truths, not knowing the 3 characteristics, and not knowing the dependent origination. So these are the things not knowing that.
What are the 3 characters?
3 characters is impermanence, dukkha and anatta. That is impersonality, which Bhante translates as impersonality. Not knowing that, all the things start. And there is a reason for ignorance also. That is also has a reason, it is not without a reason. So they say that there is a reason for ignorance. The reason for ignorance is the 5 hindrances which you face. What are the hindrances we talked about? No? Kind of craving is there, then there is aversion or hatred is there, sloth and torpor, or restlessness or doubt. And there is a reason for that also. 5 hindrances also there is a reason. What is the reason for that? There is not doing the correct things with the body, speech and mind. Doing wrong things with the body, speech and mind. That is means breaking precepts. That simply means breaking precepts. Body, speech and mind, not doing the right things is breaking of the precepts. So how does the breaking of the precepts happen? Because we are not having sense restraint. We talked about sense restraint yesterday. Because there is no sense restraint, we break precepts. Why is there no sense restraint? There is no sati sampajanya, wise attention. Okay? So when there is no sati sampajanya, when there is, why is there no sati sampajanya? There is your incorrect attention. You don't know where to put your attention. That is the reason we talk about attention of the object of meditation. Why is there no attention? Because you don't listen to the good dhamma. You don't have faith. And why do you don't have faith? Because you don't listen to the good dhamma. Why do you not listen to the good dhamma? Because you don't have kalyan mitra or good friends. If you don't have good company, you don't listen to the dhamma. You don't listen to the dhamma, you don't have faith or confidence. If you don't have confidence, you have incorrect attention. When you have incorrect attention, then what happens is the sati sampajanya is not there. Okay? When sati sampajanya is not there, then what happens? Your sense restraint is not there. When sense restraint is not there, there is incorrect things done by body, speech and mind. When there is incorrect things done by body, speech and mind, you break precepts. That is, gives us 5 hindrances. Because that whatever you have done in the past is coming in the present. No, that is what you have broken some precepts in the past, comes up as hindrances in the present. Now what happens is, because of that, ignorance is growing. Now there is a wholesome part also. You stay with good friends. Because you are with good friends, you listen to the good dhamma. Because you listen to the good dhamma, you have faith. When you have faith, you have wise attention. When you have wise attention, you have mindfulness and comprehension. That is sati sampajanya. Because you have sati sampajanya, you have sense restraint. Because you have sense restraint, with body, speech and mind, you do wholesome actions. Because you do wholesome actions, then you develop the 4 mindfulness. That is, body is there, feeling is there, mind and mind objects. Now when you develop that, the 7 factors of awakening develops. The 7 factors of awakening is mindfulness. Through mindfulness, you know what is happening. So you know that there is restlessness, you know. If there is a slotting torpor, you know. Why you know? Because you are aware. So now you can balance, you can investigate. That is called investigation. When there is mindfulness, there is investigation. When there is investigation, there is balance of energy. So your slotting torpor is there, what you do? You put in more energy. If your restless is there, you relax. You take away energy. So there is balance of energy happens. When there is balance of energy, there is joy arising. When the mind has joy, the body is tranquil. When the body is tranquil, you go into samadhi or the jhanas. Okay? So when you are in samadhi, your mind will become equanimous. Then you reach equanimity. So that is what develops. When that is developed, ignorance is destroyed. So you get true knowledge. What is happening over there, you come to know. So that is how ignorance also has a causes and conditions.
Can you repeat that? 7 factors of belief.
7 factors are mindfulness, investigation of factors, energy,
Balance of energy.
or just energy also, and then joy and tranquility or passaddhi, tranquility, and
Tranquility, samadhi.
then samadhi. After tranquility, samadhi. Or jhana, or then after that, equanimity.
That is the Satta Bhujangasana.
Yes, Sattva. So now Buddha is giving a very encouraging factor which is there. The Buddha is saying if you have mindfulness, the investigation will happen automatically. You don't have to have a volitional wish to have the investigation. Because when you are there, you already know. When there is investigation, the balance of energy happens automatically. You don't have to work with energy. When there is a balance of energy, joy automatically arises. When there is joy arising, the body becomes tranquil. So if your mind has joy, then your body will become tranquil. When the tranquility is there, you go into samadhi or collectedness of mind or jhanas, whatever you want to say. And then you will have equanimity. So there is nothing, if you have one, then other will automatically happen. Buddha gives an example of if there is water on the mountain top, then it will go to small kind of creeks. When they go into the creeks, it overflows into small puddles. When the puddles is overflowing, it will flow into streams. When the streams is overflowing, it overflows into lakes. When the lakes overflow, it flows into rivers. And the river overflows, it overflows into the ocean. So what falls on the mountain top as rain eventually reaches the ocean. In that sense, if you start practicing, then from one thing to another, all this thing will automatically happen. But you have to keep on practicing. So many of them, us, have changed our practice. So you have seen that there is nothing, no volition you have to have that, oh, this should happen. But that mind has changed. You did not have that kind of wish that mind should be calm, but the mind has become more calm. Some people have started sitting longer also. So this is happening automatically. If you start doing it, then all the other things will happen in life. So that is how the dependent origination works, by looking at what is happening. And how does it happen in your meditation? See, when you are sitting, sometimes you will notice, oh, when I have one or two thoughts, after that I noticed. Okay? After 5 minutes. Then what you do is release, relax, smile and come back. Then at one point of time, what happens is your mindfulness is improving. When the mind is going, at the birth of action, you know, okay, I'm going. As soon as it goes, you recognize. And then what you do, release, relax, smile, come back. So then now you are knowing at birth of action. Now at the time of habitual tendency which is there, your mind is going like this, there is in the background the thought is there. Your attention is going a little bit over here, there is oscillating. But you are knowing that you are still there with your spiritual friend or with your object of meditation, but your mind is oscillating and this thought is there. That time you recognize, oh, this is oscillating, and you relax and let that thought go. So that habitual tendency which is there, that sometimes you are thinking about certain things, but you are still over here. And then you will recognize what is happening and then let them go. Sometimes you recognize the craving also. You are there in the meditation and there is tension, tightness which happens and you recognize this tension, tightness. You relax the tension, tightness and let that go. Then your mind does not waver also. And in many cases, in very few cases, when you are in very deep meditation, you can know feeling also or contact. So you may be able to recognize when you are in deep meditation, in very kind of quiet mind. That time you can notice, oh, this has happened. And you will just see something like a light which is there or this thing. You are relaxing and nothing is happening. There is no tension also coming. There is one student of Bhante Vimalamsi in Indonesia. They can sit for 3 hours without the mind having any kind of tension and tightness. 3 hours continuously. This everybody can do. Everybody can do because they have to just follow the process. As you follow the process, they can sit. So the 2 retreats before, there was in Pune there was a retreat. There was a person who came. They were sitting say half an hour in the first day. In the last day, they sat for 8 hours. There are other practices also. So they were from spiritual practice. There was so their mind was much more clear. Shila was clear. All these things, but on the first day they were not able to understand. They were not. But on the last day they were able to sit for 8 hours. There was one with Bhante Vimalamsi. There was a lady who came with her sister. Sister had done 2 or 3 retreats with Bhante, and she called her sister. Now the sister went to interview. So interview, she said, but they asked how long did you sit? She sat for 4 hours. On her third or fourth day, she sat for 4 hours. And but they said, why did you break the sitting? She said, oh, I had to go for lunch. So then, but they said, try to sit as long as possible. And she said, okay, I'll try to sit as long as possible. Then in that night, 6:30, Bande was giving talks. She sat down and she said, don't disturb me. I will sit as long as possible. So she started at 6:30 in the night, evening. And she stayed till 6:30 in the morning. 12 hours. She sat. For 12 hours. It was her first retreat. So that can also happen. Because something must be there, karmically, he must be a good person or something like that. But I have seen other advanced retreat means, but he was a very advanced meditator. He was meditating for many years in Bali, where this person sat for 12 hours. He, I think, started at 4 o'clock or something like that, and afternoon 4 he got up. He got up just when I was going back, and I said, oh, why is he sitting like this? He was sitting with a chair and everything. He was chair had cushions and his legs had cushions and everything. So he was sitting, so he can sit in the perfect 90 degrees. That is the reason he sat like that. When he came out, he had a little bit of kind of electrolyte problem. He kind of had dizziness because of that. But other than that, he was okay. He had some, and there was a doctor also with him from Australia. There was a person who had come who was a sports doctor. He said that there is no problem. I just give him some electrolyte, he will be okay. But he sat for 12 hours without going to the bathroom, without having a drink, nothing. He sat for 12 hours. And that lady had no problem with electrolyte also. So people can sit. And that is all possible because you are able to see what is that. So what I say is the longer sitting is not based on your determination or your pushing. It is based on what you can see in the present. If you can see how your mind is coming, how this thought is coming and trying to push you up, and are able to let go, recognize this as impersonal and let go and continue sitting. That is when you can extend the sitting. And you should be comfortable. It is not about kind of hurting yourself. If you have any medical issues or anything, don't try to kind of sit longer just because you want to kind of prove yourself, okay, I can sit 4 hours. So that is not worth it. So if you have medical issue, okay, you work in different manner. So when Ananda went, somebody asked Ananda, how can we reach Nibbana? Ananda said you can reach it in the first jhana. You can reach it in second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, arupa jhana of infinite space, arupa jhana of infinite consciousness and nothingness. Only not in neither perception nor perception, because there is no contemplation possible. And then in metta, karuna, mudita, upekha, any of those also you can attain. And what you have to do is whatever is there, you have to see them as impermanent. Okay? And dukkha and impersonality is also all these things are connected. One way is that this all three are three different things, and one way they are the same thing. So when I say impermanence, then that is dukkha. Okay? As I gave you example of ice cream. If ice cream was permanent and you can have unlimited ice cream, an ice cream cup will never, then there is no kind of dukkha. No? You can have anytime as much as ice cream possible, but that is not the case. So there is impermanence, there is dukkha. When there is dukkha, there is impermanence, it cannot be permanent, it cannot be self. Self is permanent, no? Atman, what is the concept of Atman? Atman, the concept is that it is permanent, it is not destructible. So if it is impermanent, then it is not Atman. So the body is impermanent, so we cannot say this body is Atman. Feeling is impermanent, we cannot say it is Atman. Perception is impermanent, the thoughts are impermanent, okay, consciousness is impermanent, then you cannot say there is an Atman. So then if it is impermanent, it cannot be said it is self. So impermanence has dukkha and anatha into it. If If you say dukkha, it is dukkha, then it cannot be permanent, it is impermanent. If it is dukkha, it cannot be self. If it is not self, it cannot be happiness, it has to be dukkha. If it is not self, it can be only impermanent. So one thing is also linked with the other two. So if you focus on one, you are also focusing on the other. So if you are focusing on impermanence, you can focus on impermanence. If you are wanting to focus on impersonality, you can focus on impersonality. Or if you want to focus on dukkha, you can focus on dukkha, whatever. So that also you have insight into all the three.
In our practice, let's say focusing on impersonality, that's like focusing on nothingness.
No, you are impersonality when you are seeing those things which are arising on their own. And then they are passing away on their own. Or you see certain things arise and then something else arise. The kind of dependently originated thing. So there is tension and tightness and then there is thought. So then you can clearly see this link between tension and tightness and the thoughts. Then you see, okay, there is a link over there. And then there is something which happens, and then there is tension, and then there is thought. And you see, this is a kind of a link. You are not involved. Known they arose, known they stayed, known they vanished. So that is what the observer effect is that. But now when I am observing it, it is not me. And that is how you kind of develop the understanding. Certain time pain happens. So did I bring that pain up? Did I ask the pain to come up? Can I make it go away? No, then it is not me. This is not mine. This is not myself. Then you can let that pain go. So in that sense, you just investigate in that manner. But you have to go to the kind of the basic investigation. You have to still be in the nothingness or quiet mind. So that the investigation is there. Before that, you have to let go of everything to kind of come to that mind state, which is very nice, and where the hindrances are very subtle. There you are investigation which can be really can happen. Before that, you will just progress. Yes.
How do you start the investigation if you're in a very economist mind state?
You see what is in the economic mind also. There's a lot of things which are happening, and you watch that things. Like I said, some thought arises. You said, did I ask this thought to come? What happened before this thought? What was there before this thought? You just ask yourself this and just stay with that. And then you may see, okay, there was something which was there before this thought. Can I let go when before this thought? Then that is how you investigate. But your mind has to go into that quietness and see the arising. So there should be spaceness also. The quietness is not about being in separation. It is about being in spaciousness, in kind of open awareness. But awareness has to be there. If that awareness is not there and it is very much kind of concentrated, then you will not be able to see the movement of your attention. That is what which is there, no? Yeah.
If you're using suppression, how do you transition into spaciousness?
You do the what is said over here. The practice which is there is about open awareness. That is what we say. Put your attention, have open awareness. Then you look at whatever is there, and then allow your mind to kind of move also. So then you are able to see where attention is there. So then that is the reason attention has been, or awareness, or the focus of your awareness where it is there. Whatever, sometimes attention feels very kind of focused, then use awareness. So where your awareness is there, is that awareness over here? Is it going to the thoughts? Then that is where you know the difference, no? That how the awareness is traveling. That is the reason the definition the Bande is given is remembering to observe how your mind's attention moves from one thing to another. Okay? So how this is moving from one thing to another. Now when you are knowing this how it is moving, then you are knowing how this function is happening. How there is a contact is there, how there is feeling which is there, how there is a kind of craving is generated, how the clinging is there, how habitual tendencies happen. how the birth of action is there, and how it ends. You are able to observe all these things because there is a space over that, and that space you learn. You don't just staying on it, you will not learn. Just being distracted, you will not learn. But in this process of letting go and coming back, that space in between, that is where your learning process happens. And as you do it, it is only you can learn. There cannot be, as I told yesterday also, that there is nothing which we can do in that sense. You have to, we can just give instructions. It is up to you to figure that out. And in the, yes.
Abhijit, Buddha's teachings, Four Noble Truth, is more of eternal. When we are learning from centers like this, from Honorable Bande Ji, like this, we are able to comprehend and do practice. When we are applying in a society or in a family, we are able to identify dukkha, reason for dukkha, but cessation of the dukkha is very difficult to do it, because if it is pertaining to me, I can correct myself. If I know particular issue is not mine, it is somebody else, unable to cessation of the dukkha, it multiplies instead of.
But then that is, you are wanting to control what you do not control. That is what I said in the first day, that there are certain things you can control, there are certain things you cannot control, and you need to know the difference. The thing which you do not control, you don't want to change. So this is the truth, and this is us fighting the truth. So if it is pertaining to somebody else, we cannot change somebody else. No? The Buddha himself could not change somebody else. Buddha changed by giving the instructions, but he himself could not change. I told you the example also. The first time the Buddha taught, there were 5 disciples, and 4 of them did not attain anything on the first sermon. 1 only attained. So Buddha, if he had to kind of give them kind of bodhi, he could have just touched their head and said, okay, you are now awakened, and they will be awakened. But no, the Buddha himself cannot do it. And Buddha is again saying that what I can do, I am just the person who points the way. That is how it is.
We have to go along.
You have to go. You have to accept that thing. If you, the non-acceptance is only the dukkha.
Yeah. Thank you.
So the Buddha is talking about the dependent origination. Now tomorrow we will see a dependent origination in a different light. So there is one other sutta which is Majjhima Nikaya 18, Madhupindika Sutta, that is Honey Ball Sutta. That sutta we will see the dependent origination, but in a different angle. We will see that dependent origination. That dependent origination has a different kind of practical, you can say, application of how that affects us, and it is a little bit different than the steps given over here. So there is one step which is there, which is a compound step, which is put in the dependent origination. So we will go through that tomorrow, and then there is a lot of information about what the Buddha is talking about in that sutta. So there is a lot of information that can be given.
I have a question. Craving, clinging, and habitual tendencies, are they personal or not?
See, when you say this is craving, that is the time we make it personal. Because when there is certain feeling is there, we cannot decide if it is pleasant, unpleasant, or neither pleasant or unpleasant. Because that is perception is active over there. And only then, which is I like it or I don't like it, that is making it personal. Over here you will see that in this there is still this feeling, it is green. See this? It is called impersonal. This is called potential. And from there it is called personal. So I like it because that I comes in. I like it, I don't like it. That when that craving is there, that I is there. There is no I, there is no kind of craving also. It's just what is there. So there is no dukkha which is there. So the pain is inevitable, but dukkha is optional. That is what Bhante used to say. So why is pain inevitable? Because if the body is there, there can be pains which will come. But resisting of this or not is up to us. So that is what I gave an example of the kind of the arrow which is there. And all the other examples the Buddha is giving. Buddha himself had back pain. Buddha in his old age became ill a lot of times. He ate sometimes mango kind of meal, and that kind of caused food poisoning. And he had a lot of pain in the stomach. He had the headache. It is explained as if two men are wrapping the cloth, strong men, and then squeezing it. That is the amount of pain he was. But he was having that pain, but he had no dukkha. So he said he mindfully endured that pain. The pain was there, but he mindfully endured that pain. He had back pain so severe that once when he is giving a talk, he says, I am now lying down. And Ananda will complete the talk. And then after Ananda completes, he gets up and completes.
Was it because of Buddha's karma?
Yes, it is said that by the commentaries that Buddha many eons back was a wrestler, and he used to break people's back. And then now this karma came. So that is a commentary. So it may be karmic, but it is a commentary. We can say take it on the face value or just there is some reason we can give it. But commentary says that. Everything is karmic, but there are certain three ways karma works, which is from the past or something which happens in the present. Okay, and there is something happens since also. So one of the things is interesting for me is there is one Buddha is talking about how somebody becomes long age. So if he is not killing and keeping that precepts of not killing, then in the next life he is long age. But if he dies at a younger age, then remaining amount of that karma is spent in the heavenly realms. Now that means that there is a happenstance which is possible. That the person who comes with a long age can die prematurely in an accident. So there is a happenstance also. So there is something which is past, something which we create in the present. There is certain things we are not doing, we are kind of repairing something with a hammer and we are not mindful. And we hit our hand on the thumb. That could be the present karma. Okay, something which happens from the past could be you are driving and somebody kind of slams into you. That could be from the past or the present, we don't know. But just as an example. And something which is a happenstance, which can happen as an accident. So there is always this possibility. So we cannot say. Some people kind of claim that they can say, but it is not possible. Yes?
But the karmic effects for individuals, okay. But in respect of Middle East, Venezuela, Ukraine, like this, the whole country is suffering. How do you see this?
So that is also like the Buddhists, this thing they say that every person is born in certain places based on their karma. So when you are born in certain place, so if you are born in India, there is an India dukkha which you get. If you are born in America, you get America dukkha. If you are born in Venezuela, Venezuela dukkha you get. So there is everywhere you are born. That is the place you get.
So sometimes we travel to that place to get that dukkha of that
Correct.
country.
Then it is for Amana. That is the reason travel advisory is given. Do not travel to this country.
I have a question about the meditation itself. So when I do meditation on the object, like that is so focused, I'm not pushing myself to do that. Like it's automatically focused, and then probably after some time I get bored, and I go into nothingness and some other thought comes in. So how to handle that situation?
So when you are getting bored, then you have to see that how you are able to find that. before you are getting bored. Like when you are, the boredom does not come suddenly. There is a process for the boredom to come. Then your awareness has to be there about how this function is happening. You have to be aware. That is what mindfulness is there. When mindfulness is lost, then the boredom can take over. So if your mindfulness is there, and certain places the boredom which is there in quiet mind or nothingness, there you have to ask us, who is bored? You have to ask. So in that sense, you are asking what is the asking the mind and then waiting for the answer. Okay?
Right.
Because you are taking it that boredom also personally, and that's the reason you are that getting kind of overtaking the mind. So you can see that as a impersonal and let go. Don't make it a problem also. Yes?
Is there one mind or are there many minds?
You can say that there is only one mind, but there are many kind of shapes of the mind based on what is the causes and condition in the present. So it may feel like there are many different minds. Like one of the things about self, Tadisara book is there. So he talks about when you get up in the morning, you are groggy and that is a different self. But when you brush your teeth and everything, there is a different self. You have coffee, after having coffee you are a different self. When you are driving to your work, there is a different self. When you are in office, you are a different self. When the end of the office, after the 8 hours of work, you are a different self. When you come back home, you are a different self. After you have dinner, you are a different self. So each of the self is changing. Sometimes there is a phrase which is, don't talk to me until I have had coffee. No? That is because the person who has not had coffee and the person who had coffee is two different persons. So that self is changing. That's the reason it appears that there are many. Based on causes and condition, it changes. Okay? I'll take the return thing. Metta steps, repeat once again, please. Now, what is this fifth or sixth? Maybe you can just ask Shubham directly, and one-on-one we can kind of go through that. Which Kamathana Lord Buddha used for unenlightened out of 40 Kamathanas, and any method Kamathana Lord Buddha mostly appreciated out of 40. So see, this 40 thing is something I don't kind of prescribe to. There can be more than 40 also. There is one Dhammapada verse which is there, where the person is contemplating on his plough. He is a farmer, and through the contemplation of the plough, he becomes a arahant. So that is what the Dhammapada, a plough. There can be many different ways of, but what Bhante Vimalamsi says is, what you put your attention is not important. How you kind of do the right effort. That is the 6 R's. If you are doing the right effort, if the unwholesome is there in your mind, you know the unwholesome is there. That is the recognized step, And you remove the unwholesome, bring up the wholesome, and increase the wholesome. That is the kind of right effort. Now, if you do the right effort, any object of meditation can be there. That right effort, if you are doing correctly, then it will work. So, one of the things about breathing and metta is also, Bhante found that breathing, he started with breathing, and his book is also about breathing meditation. But he thought that many of us have the habit of breathing, and the old habits are kind of not easy to kind of change. That's the reason he gave something which is more radically different. That is metta, and that worked. And that is the reason metta is used. And metta is a pleasant feeling. You like that feeling of metta. You like the feeling of karuna, mudita. And that is the reason that feeling which is there is kind of a human, and there is a kind of connection. That is why it can sustain your attention. And he found that this is much faster method. That's the reason in 10 days people can kind of understand the whole of the practice. And some people have progressed also a lot in 10 days. So this is the reason he used the metta meditation. It's not a practical reason. Or you can say he is using the Brahma Viharas in that sense. So Kammathanas and different Kammathanas can kind of be a confusing kind of thing. But we use metta, and I would encourage you kind of stick with metta. Okay? And there can be more than 40, so I don't prescribe to that number of 40. That is also in Vishuddhamagga, I think so. That was calculated as 40. One of the things about Ajahn Chah is also very interesting. Ajahn Chah had gone, become a monk, and then he saw this life is very difficult, then came back. Then when he came back, he was working in his field, he was bringing his buffaloes back home, and at one time he was just sitting, and he saw the mud in his field. And he said, oh, my whole life is mud. My house is made of mud, my feet are full of mud, and go and stay all day in mud. So and I'll go into mud only. So what am I doing? So there's something more than this which is there, you know. That I'll whole life I'll spend like this and I'll end up in bed. So what should I do? Then he contemplated on the mud and then he decided to become a monk. So that can be, anything can become an object of meditation for us, you know. So we stick to the method.
I think today, Venerable Jaya Sarao, talking in Mahabodhi today, he is a disciple of Ajahn Chah.
Ajahn Chah, yeah. He is directly ordained by Ajahn Chah. I have met Ajahn Chah Sarao because I was in Thailand. I met him many times. He used to come there. He was the abbot of Vatpanana Chat where I was staying. Ajahn Kevli also has come to Mahabodhi. Ajahn Kevli was my abbot. So I know them. One question, what should one needs to do in final phase of life, nearing to death? How should one needs to face death? What happens after death? Does someone come to a company for next realm? Does chanting help someone in the final phase of life? Thank you. See, the thing is about death is Buddha has said once very clearly that if your hair was on fire, if you are put on fire, rather than trying to put out the fire, you contemplate the Dhamma for that period. That is much better than putting out the fire. So that is what the Buddha is saying, that you practice. So as of now, whatever you are doing is practice. That is preparing for death only. So if you practice, that is what happens. Now other thing is, at the time of death, whatever the practice has been given is the practice of the impersonality. You see this body as impersonal. You see this feeling as impersonal. You see these thoughts as impersonal. You see this kind of mind as impersonal. The consciousness is impersonal. All of these things you see as impersonal. Perception also is impersonal. So all these things which is there, you see as impersonal. So you see them as dukkha. You see them as kind of impermanent. That is what the teaching is given at the time of death. So there are a few suttas where the person who is on the deathbed is being given teaching. And the other thing is what happens after death. You will find out after death, so don't worry about it. So whatever I say, there is no validity, you know. Because I am not remembering my previous death, so, and I don't know what is going to happen, so I cannot say that. But what happens is that whatever happens, if you have confidence, then you will be confident in the death also. If you are kind of confused, then you will be confused at that also. So in both the ways, you have to generate and practice. If you have practiced, you have more clarity is there in your mind. That clarity is only the thing which takes you forward. Yes?
Does Sariputta give the same discourse to Anatta?
Correct. Yes, that is a thing. There are other suttas also where this has been given, and certain times those suttas are kind of giving us the emphasis, where the emphasis is there. This is the emphasis which is there, which is on the impermanence, dukkha, and impersonality. At the time of that, you remember those things. How can you remember? Because you are doing it. If you are doing it persistently, then only it can happen. There is one story which is there, I heard in Malaysia. They say that somebody said that whatever is your mind state in your death, that is how you go. So if you in the death remember Buddha Dhamma Sangha, then you will go to heaven. That is the kind of a belief they have over there. That if you remember Buddha Dhamma Sangha, you go to heaven. Now there is a merchant who is there. Who says that, see, I cannot spend my life because I have to take care of my shop. I want to do big business. So I will not be able to chant Buddha Dhamma Sangha. So what I will do is I will make my 3 sons Buddha Dhamma Sangha. So the 3 sons which are there will come to me and when I die for the inheritance. That time I will know Buddha Dhamma Sangha, Buddha Dhamma Sangha, and I will not have to remember it all my life. In my death I can. And that happened, he was very ill and the doctor said you have some time. So he calls his son. So the 3 sons are there. The father, what can we do for you and everything, then what is our inheritance, and they are saying okay. So he said Buddha Dhamma Sangha, Buddha Dhamma Sangha. He gives his inheritance and he remembers Buddha Dhamma Sangha. Then he remembers, if Buddha Dhamma Sangha is here, who is at the shop? And he so you cannot cheat the system. So you have to have the habit, because habit is the short. So in the end, the habit overtakes. So that is what. So if you keep doing the things which are there, then you don't have to worry about that. That is the reason the Buddha says when somebody is a Sotapanna, he has reached deathless. That is an important thing, deathless. So that is the designation the Buddha gives for somebody who has reached a Sotapanna. So that is a very kind of a strong thing which is there. Huh? So one does not have to worry about that. If one has done well, then that thing will automatically carry forward. And certain things, there are certain beliefs in other Buddhist things like where there, but that is not mentioned in the suttas. There are other, like Tibetan Buddhism has the Book of the Living, Book of the Dead, and there is a Book of the Living and the Dead also. Rinpoche, Sigyan Rinpoche. So they have another ideas also. But as per the suttas, they have not gone into details. It is just that the consciousness travels from one thing to another based on whatever is your karmic balance which is there. But one thing the Buddha says is, in the sutta, there are a couple of suttas where he says that if you do the practice, even if you reach the first jhana, and you have a habit of reaching the first jhana, and you are accomplishing the first jhana, you will be reborn in a Brahma Loka, and from there you will develop your mind till the become Arahant. So as if you practice well, then the Buddha is saying that you are, because it's about the one way the one monk explained to me was, it is like a tanker. Oil tanker is there, now it is in a lot of news, no oil tankers. Now this oil tanker is there, now it kind of moves 1 degree. Okay? Even if it moves 1 degree, what happens is, it rather moves 1 degree. What will happen is, after much time, it will go 180 degree. So we have to just make that 1 degree change also in our perspective of life. If you make that 1 degree change, eventually that 180 degree change will happen.
What's the difference between Arahant and the Buddha?
Arahant is somebody who learns. He is also called a Savaka Buddha. Arahant is called a Savaka Buddha. Savaka means he listens and becomes a Buddha. And Buddha is a Sammasambuddha. Sammasambuddha is a person who learns by himself and he teaches. And there is a Pacceka Buddha. Pacceka Buddha learns by himself, but he is in an environment he is not able to teach, or he does not have the skills developed enough that he can teach.
Can an Arahant teach?
It also depends. Some Arahants kind of choose not to teach. They stay in the forest. Some Arahants, they are not Arahants but they teach, but their students are becoming Arahants. So that all can happen, because the teaching is important rather than the teacher. So what is being taught is important, because that is what I am teaching is the words of the Buddha. So teacher is not important. What is important is teaching. So there is one very nice kind of commentary where there is a person who is a teacher. He thinks he is an arahant because his mind is very clear and all these things. And he is teaching students, and then two of his students become arahants. And then they think, we are arahants, but let us see our teacher is arahant or not. So they use their psychic power to see that teacher is arahant or not. And they find out the teacher is not an arahant. So they say, okay, what to do? Now we cannot go and approach the teacher and say, sir, venerable sir, you are not an arahant. So how should we do? So he said, they said that we should make him realize it, that he is not an arahant. Then he will practice. So then what they did was they devised a plan. They went to the teacher and sat down, and then they created a psychic elephant from there, and then they projected that elephant running towards the teacher. And when the teacher saw that wild elephant running towards it, fear arose in him. As soon as fear arose in him, that elephant vanished. Then he understood that these students have done this to kind of make me realize. He was a very wise teacher. So then he said, okay, thank you for kind of giving me this clarity. I will practice. Then he practiced more. So that is how also happens. That there can be some people who think they are arahant, they are also not arahants. There can be a kind of a overestimation which can happen. So that all things are possible. So there is nothing which is sure over here.
So what is the mind state here? Like how's that defined?
Mind state of an arahant is difficult to kind of say, but one thing is that there is no greed, there is no aversion, and there is no delusion. So there are nothing which kind of there is no ignorance which is there in the. So there, whatever he thinks about is thinking about in terms of what is situational or what is required. Like one of the suttas, the Buddha is saying, the thought arose in me that my monks are not having enough to eat in the evening. So I will give them some options. So there is a allowables which are there in the evening. Like there is a ghee, oil, butter, and those things are there. So he allowed those things to be consumed, like fruit juice is there, soups are there, and all these things. So then he allowed them because they were eating one meal a day, and some of them were becoming very kind of emancipated, became very thin. So that is what. So then I like that how the sentence is framed. The thought arose. The thought was there in the mind of the Buddha. The thought was the thought arose, but that was not linked to craving. It was not linked to aversion. It was not linked to the delusion, but it was linked to something which was practical. So thought will arise in the Buddha, but it will be all which is linked to what is needed, which is wholesome. Sometimes they have, with compassion, Buddha would look at the world and see if there is somebody who is there who needs training. And then he goes there and gives the training. There is one case about a potter's shed. That sutta used to read in the Bhante used to read. Maybe I will read that sutta maybe in next retreat. Next retreat I am going to change the suttas also. So I will use a different sutta. For there is a Majjhima Nikaya 38, which is also a very good sutta for dependent origination. That I can read. So I will read some other suttas in the next retreat. So that sutta, the potter's shed, there is a person who is coming to search for the Buddha, and the Buddha comes to the potter's shed and gives the teaching. And this person, yes.
You saw the same potential in Angulimala as well.
Yes. Yes. Very good. Thank you. That also was one of the case where he kind of found that potential in Angulimala and then went and kind of taught him. And this same thing happens in other case also, where he goes to a Brahmin who is a fire worshipper, and his cousin or somebody comes, and then the Buddha teaches that person. So there's many instances in the suttas where the Buddha himself goes, because then he has compassion. So whatever actions he does through the lens of metta, karuna, mudita. So that is how he kind of acts.
Somdand also.
Huh?
Somdand.
So,
That Ajatashatru's Hindu guru.
ha. Ajatashatru had also come to the Buddha, but because of his karmic, he could not become Sotapanna. Ajatashatru himself had come. So that is also a certain, it's an interesting point, where he had done something which caused the death of his parents. Then he had to kind of go to the hell in this next birth. But because he understood the Buddha's teaching, then after the hell run, he would go and become a Pacheka Buddha. So that is mentioned in the commentaries. So very kind of interesting points are there in the suttas when we are reading it. Okay then, any other thing, any other questions related to meditation or anything? Okay. I will share because it's already 7. And when there are many people who have changed their kind of way of meditation today. So we kind of sure that you don't 6 are a lot. Okay, I have seen that many that is still happening. Many people are only 6-ing everything which is coming. Not all thoughts have to be 6-are. So I have told many people, but I will just repeat. If I am looking at somebody, say if I am looking at him, I am also aware of the other person. But I don't have to kind of be with them. I can still be with you, I can speak with you and be aware of the other person. So in that same way, you can be with your feeling or the which is there, or in the directions you are there. Your awareness is broad when you are in direction, and the thoughts may come, but you don't have to 6-are all the thoughts. Let that be. After the energy is dissipated, that thoughts will go away. And when you put your attention, you make the thought real. You make it real if it is there. If there is thought of anger comes up, and you give it attention, then you become angry. Or there is just a thought of anger is arising in me. And then if it is thought of anger is arising in me, I can 6-are. But if I am angry, I cannot be calmed down. So that is how it happens. Certain times it happens, then you just let it go and go.
A question about the practice.
Mm-hmm.
So, say that I'm aware of my objective meditation, and I notice that there's tension building or stress building, something like that. It's okay to relax.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can still be with the object of meditation and just relax. Okay. So I just share with you. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear struck careless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that I have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, Devas and Nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's disposition.